like to follow along with us, here's the link to the presentation. So before I start, I would like to acknowledge our team members who have been with us for the past year, and without them, the research project would not have been possible. So here's a list of our research co-authors. Here's an outline of what we're doing today. So I will start with an introduction of our research questions and then the methodologies. Then Hannah and Ariel will join me and they will discuss policy challenges in developing countries. And that will give us kind of an idea about what's still left to be done in countries in transition. Then I'll come back to you and I will talk about the two key ideas in our research project, evidence-based policy making and data visualization. Then the whole team will come up here and we will talk about a few data visualizations that we have been able to develop in the past year or so. Then I'll come back here last and offer my conclusions and suggestions for future research. So I would like to start this off with an example. In 1996, so quite a while ago, the Tanzania Essential Health Interventions Project was launched with support from the International Development Research Center of Canada. And what they did was essentially collecting a large amount of data by conducting household surveys in 2 districts in Tanzania. And then after that, they did something they called the burden of disease analysis. So they essentially figured out what kind of disease would cause the most harm to the people in those 2 districts. Then they allocated the funding so that more money would actually go into the diseases that caused the most harm. So what was the result of that project? Between the years of 2000 and 2003, there was more than 40% reductions in infant mortality rate in those 2 districts. And so that was very significant. And this is one example of evidence-based policy making with application in developing countries. And this is the first key idea of our research. And the second key idea is data visualization. And a lot of you are probably familiar with the idea of data visualization. It could be understood as the use of graphics for researchers to communicate their ideas. Classic examples of data visualizations are the pie charts and the bar graphs, as you probably know. Nowadays, data visualization could be used to communicate ideas about a wide variety of topics, from immigration, the example that I'm having up here, to the days of the week where workers are murdered, to information about cookies. And all of these examples are taken from latimes.com. So data visualization is very useful. We use it to communicate a lot of types of ideas and messages to our audience. So in our research, we want to marry these 2 ideas. We want to look at data visualization and the role of data visualization as a tool of evidence-based policy making. So under that purpose, given that purpose, we set out to answer 4 research questions. And our first question was, can data visualization really help evidence-based policy making in developing countries? If so, what are the challenges and what are the advantages in developing countries compared to the situation in developed countries? Then of course we have to look at the data. What data sources are available? Can we combine the data? If so, how can we do that? Then of course we want to know if we could create a few demonstrations of data visualization and how can that inform policy making process. And last but not least, we want to look at the merits and the drawbacks of evidence-based policy making and data visualizations. So those are our 4 research questions for the project. And here's how we set out to answer those questions. The first task was to identify reliable data sources. And so the data that we used are publicly available. They come from the United Nations, they come from the World Bank. We also used a few data sets from survey and census data about the DPRK, or some of you might know as North Korea. And those data are reliable because they were gathered with support from UN agencies from the United Nations. Then this project is actually a continuation of a team effort from last year. So we looked into a few principles of data visualization And we apply that to this year's research as well. The tools that we used were mainly R, so we used that very extensively. I think Star, he also used JavaScript and Python in his data visualization. We also used Excel when we did data cleaning and combination of the data. Now I think Hannah and Ariel will join me and they will discuss the challenges in developing countries, just to give us an idea of what's still